Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this episode, we'll be creating a simple yet powerful Niagara system that will spread visual effects across enemies, NPCs, and skeletal mesh objects. This visually striking dynamic effect and technique will take your game to the next level. Before we get started, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss out on future episodes. Let's go ahead and jump right in. For this project, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder called Contagious. I also already imported the smoke flipbook that I'll be using for this visual effect. This material and texture will be available for a free download on my Patreon. So you can jump over and grab those to download and follow along this project if you do need them. But this will work with any material that you want to use with it, or any Niagara system that you want to create. So it doesn't have to be this smoke flipbook or even the system that I'm using. So um, with that said, let's go ahead and start creating our Niagara system. And I'm just going to grab a single looping particle for now, and let's name it NS Fire. Open that up. And then inside the fire, there's a few things we're going to do. First, let's change the name to, yeah, we'll just call it flame for now. It's really going to be more of a smoke, but we'll use the smoke flipbook under your sprite renderer. So for this, you see that it's showing the whole flipbook. What we want to do is go down to the sub UVs, and this is an 8 by 8. So we're going to increase it to 8 by 8. So we're just grabbing one of those instances now. Well, let's turn on sub UV blending. The next thing we want to do is in our particle update, let's grab a sub UV animation. And for the sub UV animation, we want to go linear. We're going to leave this at 0 to 63 because we have 64 of these images, 8 by 8. So we want to go through 64 frames total. We want to select sprite renderer here. And with the sub UV lookup index, this is where we can kind of change how fast this goes through. So whatever you're going to need for your specific smoke, I think for now we'll just stick to 1. Um, I don't want to do spawn burst instantaneous, so let's add a spawn rate, and let's remove this one. So the spawn rate, we're going to turn this up to like 50 or 80. Once we add some motion in, it won't be just kind of sticking over itself like that. Let's go to initialize particle. And inside the initialized particle, let's give this a random life. I'm going to go between, we can just leave it at that for now. Give it just any color that you want it to be. For this system, I'm just going to do orange somewhere in here. Let's also do a sprite size mode. Let's go random uniform. And I want to do this in between 20 and 120. That's just what I found that worked. And again, we're kind of, looks like it's spazzing out here. So go to your sprite rotation mode, and let's do random on the rotation. The next thing, let's add a few things to the particle update. Let's add a scale, sprite size. And for this, the ramp up works, or you can do more of this smooth ramp up, which works as well. I'm going to set this key to 0.5. So at 0, it's going to be set to 0.5, and at 1, it's going to be set to 1. That looks good. Let's go ahead and add a gravity force. So the gravity force, we want to go the opposite way so it looks like it's rising. Not going to add too much of one, but you can go 20 or 50, something like that. So you're starting to get it to rise a little bit. We'll add a curl noise force just to get a little bit of variance in here. And for this, we can go something like this. We'll just leave it like that for now. And maybe now we need to raise this a little bit more. And we can always come back and change these after we see it on our character. We'll add a drag, just a small little drag here. And then we'll add a scale color. For the scale color, we're just going to do the scale alpha. We're going to change that to a float from curve. And we want this to start invisible and then return to invisible just to give it that natural look. So something like that, or you can use this pulse out as well. So kind of whichever one you think looks better for your project. This one looks pretty good, so I'll leave it there for now. For what we're going to do, we're going to change the solve forces a little bit as well. But for now, let's go ahead and on your particle spawn, let's add a skeletal mesh location. I'm going to leave all of this empty for now. And we're going to go make sure that in the sampling, we got the skeleton selected with bones and then all bones. So with that in there, let's go ahead and save this. And we'll come back and change the solve forces as we see that it's necessary. But let's go apply this to our third person character real quick, or whichever character you're going to use this on. For me, I'm actually going to duplicate this so that I can have another character, and I'm going to name this VP enemy. That way, the changes I make to the third person character won't affect this enemy here, and we can catch these guys on fire later. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my player start just to make this a little easier and pull my third person character out. And then let's open this up. Now, inside our third person character, there's a few things that we want to do. First, we're going to add a Niagara system, the Niagara particle system. And let's just see what this looks like on the character for now. So grab that NS Fire, and we can go into the viewport. And you'll see is what's happening is it spawns um, the Niagara system on specific bones or on bones throughout the character. So it starts to kind of outline the character. Some negatives to this are if there's a lot of mesh around a bone, it won't, the way we're doing it now, it will not spawn on the mesh itself. It'll only spawn on the bone. So that's something to take into account with this. And you can kind of overcome that by making some changes to either the size of this or there are other methods of using it on the mesh. But using it on the skeletal mesh makes this a little more universal and we can just apply it to things and get at least some sort of fire look. So that's why we're going this route. So right now, if we run around, let's change this to possess this pawn. So go to auto possess players 0, get rid of that. So now we should possess this pawn. And there you see we got this little fire effect coming off the bones. Some things you can change in the solve forces, you can set speed limits, which will change how much it comes on and off the character. But now that I'm thinking about it, ignore that because that is more useful when you are doing like the initialize mesh reproduction sprite where the sprites are spawning on the mesh itself. Running around will launch the sprites off of you in whatever direction they start moving. So that's where this solve forces and velocity, changing that speed limit to something really low will limit that and make it look a little more natural. So we don't need it for this system. So that is what we need for our third person character for now. And we'll go back to our contagious folder. And inside this folder, we're going to create a uh, blueprint interface. And I want to name this BPI contagious. And then let's go ahead and open that up. So here I want to rename this function, and I might just call it like spread um, spread effect. And for the spread effect, we're going to add a couple inputs here. I want to add the Niagara system that will pass through this. And the reason we want to pass it is so that we can control which Niagara system is actually being spread. So that'll give us a lot more dynamic usability with this, so we can spread any kind of effect that our player has on us to another character. And for this, we want to grab a Niagara particle system component and grab that object reference. The next thing I'm going to add here, we don't need to add it, but I'm going to add a duration so that we can decide how long different effects might take effect until they go away. So that's all we're going to do with this blueprint interface. We just want the Niagara system and our duration. So we can go ahead and close that down. And then inside your third person character, let's go to class settings and go to implemented interfaces, and let's add that blueprint interface. And that gives us this over here. So what we're going to do with this is specifically, we also might, let me add another capsule. We can use this capsule, but I want to add one that we can change the size of without causing too much trouble with other things. So I'm going to add a collision capsule, and I'm going to call this effect capsule. With that effect capsule highlighted over here, I want to come over into my event graph, and let's say actor, begin actor overlap, event actor begin overlap. We have the Niagara system here, but what we're going to do is we're going to create another one, and we're going to say Niagara, or let's call it effect, Niagara effect. Let's go Niagara effect, and maybe we'll say to send, just to specify that this is what we're actually sending. And let's grab a Niagara particle system component, and we'll pull this out, and we'll set this. We're going to take this Niagara system. We're going to pull this out. We're going to get it, and we're going to just connect that right there. And we'll set this dynamically as we go. So the next thing we want to do is we're actually going to call this spread effect here. So let's say off of this actor, First, let's actually check if make sure the actor implements the interface. So we want to say does object implement interface. We want to make sure it's the interface BPI contagious that it implements. We'll come off here to a branch. If this does implement this interface, then we'll run our logic, and that logic will come off this actor, and we will say spread effect. It's targeting the actor that we've crossed with. Clean this up a little bit. So this will send the Niagara system to send right there. Again, we don't have to set it like this. We could just use this Niagara system. I like to do it this way just to kind of keep it clean to know what we're setting in case we do use these separately. But for now, I just want to do it like this. So you could just use your Niagara system and that would be fine. The next thing we want to do, let's go back to the enemy characters that you have or whatever you want these to be attached to. And let's pull one of these out into the world. And let's open this up. First, let's go to class settings and let's go to implemented interfaces. And let's give it that contagious interface. So in here, let's go ahead and add a Niagara system. This will remain empty until we need it. Let's go ahead and if we double click the spread effect, it'll give us a function for it inside our blueprint. So currently, whenever this gets ran and it sends this message through this interface, it tells this blueprint to run whatever event we attach to this. So what we want to do is we want to grab that Niagara system and we want to say get Niagara system asset. Then we want to grab this Niagara system. Again, this will remain empty and will be reset every time this comes through or set to whatever Niagara system we send to it. On this, we want to say set Niagara system asset. Let's connect these up. This is going to be the asset that we're setting it to and the asset that's getting set. So if we go and run this, see what we got going on. And now your character is on fire. That's simple. And to just kind of show, if I put a few more of these in here, that one catches on fire, then that one, then that one. So as you see, if once you implement this, your Niagara system on your main character or whatever you want to spread this, and you give it this logic that runs the spread effect. Really, this is all you need inside of any of your enemies or blueprints that you want to be able to grab that Niagara system and use it. Some things we can do a little beyond this here would be if we come here to say activate, let's connect that. And then I want to come off this to a delay. And this delay we're going to attach to our duration. Clean this up a little bit. And this duration that's being sent, if we go back to our third person character real quick, we don't have a duration being sent yet, it's just 0. So if I come off of this duration in my main character and I say promote to variable, and I want to name this, I guess we can leave that duration. If you expose it to these things, you'll have access to it inside of your blueprint. So I typically always expose those as much as need to. Um, Now that this is sending also the duration through this interface, I can come back out to here, and this duration will be the duration that it's set to. So if we just give this a short time now, set duration to like 3 for now, and when we run this, it should last only 3 seconds on each character, and then we'll die off um, if I finish what we're doing. Once we once the delay is over, we want to grab that Niagara system again, and we want to say deactivate. So go ahead and connect that. So now whenever I run it, it'll only be set to 3 seconds. So each one will be on fire for 3 seconds and then stop, just like that. So if you want this to be permanent solution, you would either set this, or you would need to remove this part of it so that it would just continue to go through. Some things we could do too, if you wanted to make this, add a little check here. So say if it's greater than 0, then do this. That way, if it's 0, it should just be permanent. So in your system, if you set this to 0, then when this is true, if it's greater than 0, it's going to run whatever delay you send through. If it is 0, it'll be permanent and not run that part. So these should last longer than 3 seconds. So since I exposed those variables, I can change that. Um, in here, let me make sure I exposed that duration. Yep, there it is. So under default duration, and here I can set that. So if we go 5 seconds, which is greater than 0, then it will, in fact, only last 5 seconds and then wear off. So that's the basics of it, and that's really how we'll get this to work. Now, I will show you if we go to Contagious, and let's just duplicate um, this a couple times, and let me rename it, and I'll call it NS Blue, and rename this one to NS Green. And I'm just going to come in here, grab this initialized particle, and let's just change this to this one's blue, and we'll change the other one to green so that we can see what this looks like with multiple options here. And then in my main character, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to first grab a key function. Off of this, I want to just get that Niagara system, and I want to say set Niagara system asset. And when I press 1, we'll set this to just normal fire. Let's copy this a couple times. This one, let's go with 2, and let's set this to blue. And then this one, let's go 3, and we will set this to green. And let's go ahead and set the duration to infinity. So whenever I set one person on fire, I can come change my blue. They stay red, they're on fire. Set that one to blue. and this one to green. It will also, the way we have it set up, override. So if you don't want it to override other effects, you'll need to come up with some logic to handle that. But for now, if I touch, they do change to the overridden color. So now you can catch enemies on fire as needed. Other things you can catch on fire would be things that have skeletal meshes. So if I come in here, this is add blueprint, and I don't know if the game gives me any defaults. Let's see what we got. So we can just do like of this cube, see what that looks like. If I pull this cube out and let's open this up, we need to go ahead and implement that interface. So really the best thing to do would be to create a parent and then just make children, and so you don't have to go and redo this every time. But for this, since it's not just a character, we'll do this a little differently. Um, but once we get this spread event, we're going to actually use all of these. So I'll just bring them in and we'll connect that up. We do need to make that connection from duration. And we need to add the Niagara system that we bring down here. Oh, sorry. That is not what we need. We will need the Niagara system, but not what connects here. So that should connect there. And that should do it for that. Let's go ahead also, and yeah, we need to add, let's do a collision capsule. And see what that looks like. So now you got your static mesh on fire as well. So works the same with any static mesh object. They do need to have their collision capsule so that it can detect when collisions occur. But other than that, that is the system. And that's going to do it for this tutorial where we created a Niagara system that allows us to spread the Niagara effect across enemies, NPCs, or other skeletal mesh objects. I hope you found this tutorial useful. If you got any use from this or like the content, please go ahead and hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future content. As always, happy developing, and I'll see you in the next one.